that's, I know I keep saying this, but forgive me, that is a really old song. There are some people who believe that that song is based on an old English folk song from the 18th century called, I think it's called The Rake's Ruin. I don't know if you know what a rake is, a man who lives a bad life. He lives a bad life, he comes to a bad end in the St. James's Hospital for leprosy and venereal disease. And there are people, yeah, exactly, let that be a lesson. There are people who believe that that hospital, referred to in that original song, is what is now St. James's Palace in London, where the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge live. I'm sure they've cleaned up a little. But I just think it's very beautiful that there are these little ideas and stories and characters and little pieces of verse that survive hundreds of years, though great empires arise and fall, and yet there's always this invisible web of beautiful things that keep us all together because we're all human, and that's, I find that very beautiful. I know this is quite dull. There may be only 3 people in the world interested in this sort of thing, but one of them may be here tonight. Thank you. This, I'm sure most of you will, of course, remember the terrible events of Hurricane Katrina that have struck the state of Louisiana and the devastation that terrible hurricane caused. But sad to say, of course, that's not the only time that the disaster has struck. There was a flood in the year of 1927. The Mississippi River burst its banks and flooded the surrounding states, covered thousands and thousands of square kilometers of just underwater. The Mississippi River at some points was 100 kilometers wide, and the devastation it caused, the loss of life, the loss of livelihood for hundreds of thousands of people was truly terrible. And the great Randy Newman wrote a song about that awful deluge, that catastrophe, which of course became more poignant because of the terrible events of Katrina. But even when it almost doesn't matter which event you apply it to. This is about the terrible suffering of that terrible flood. This is called Louisiana, 1927. What has happened down here is the wind has changed. Clouds rolling in from the north and it started to rain. Rain real hard and it rained for a real long time. 6 feet of water on the streets of Evangeline. Some people got lost in the flood. Some people got away alright. The river has busted through, clear down the Plaquemine. 6 feet of water on the streets of Evangeline. Louisiana, Louisiana. Trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. Louisiana, Louisiana. They're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. President Coolidge came on a railroad train. Little fat man with a notepad in his hand. president said, well, ain't that a shame? What the river has done to this poor cracker's land. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. Louisiana, Louisiana, they're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. They're trying to wash us away. They're trying